Before the name Venda was ever carved into maps, before Dzata rose in stone and iron, there stood a people of the mountains and rivers, known only by the beat of their drums and the whispers of the wind, the Vhangona and Vhambedzi. Long before the 10th century, they had already made their home beneath the shadows of the Soutpansberg, settling the rich and sacred lands of Mapungubwe. Here, gold was not wealth, but offering. It adorned the graves of ancestors, not the necks of kings. Cattle roamed between sacred fig trees. Wisdom was carried not in crowns, but in the rhythms of rainmakers, and in drums carved from wild fig wood, echoing through valleys like the voices of the first people. Their kingdom was vast, 7 great districts, ruled by ancient lineages. In Zenani, ruled Neswangozwi, also known as Meruvuvu. In Mbilwi, the voice of the land was Membiri. Over the hills of Tsime reigned Netsime. In Tshendoru, Netsenduru guided the people with ancestral fire. The fertile lands of Tshakhuma were ruled by Netshakhuma. Metamanacha held the reins of Chamanacha, while the district of Thulamela bowed to Makan. Each Mahosi led a network of Lamusanda, junior chiefs who presided over 145 chiefdoms, paying tribute not out of fear, but through spiritual obligation. Their unity was not enforced by swords, but bound by ritual, sacred law, and collective memory. Elders taught that the land itself spoke through the Mahosi, and that no man ruled above the voice of the ancestors. At the center of this world stood Mapungubwe, not just a capital, but a sacred altar of the people's memory. Within its sacred boundaries sat the Rapuru royal house, said to descend directly from the spirit of the land. And among those respected across all districts was Chief Luvhimbi, a renowned rainmaker of the Vhambedzi clan. His people came from the region of Marunguzi, north of the Limpopo River, and later settled in Makonde, Hamakuya, Miamzi, Chilavulu, and Harurinbi. He was known not for conquest, but for his wisdom, one who listened to the earth, spoke to the clouds, and remembered the old songs that called the rain. When drought struck and goats cried to the sky, it was Chief Luvhimbi who entered the dry riverbed barefoot, carrying white dove feathers and calabashes of sacred water. His chants, passed down from the earliest Vhambedzi, stirred the clouds like ancestral voices, and the rains always came. The sacred drum of the Vhangona, Ngoma and Vhangona, beat through the land during these ceremonies. Carved from wild fig and never touched by uninitiated hands, it was the heartbeat of the kingdom. When it sounded, every district paused, every Mahosi listened, and for many years, unity held. The districts flourished in harmony, rituals were strong, the bones of the dead were buried with care, the spirits of the living walked in peace with those of the underworld. But then, over time, something shifted. Not from war, not from famine, but from forgetting. Some Lamusanda grew proud and withheld tribute. Some Mahosi ignored their Makazi. Sacred groves were felled for wood. Rituals became brief. Counsel was replaced with command. The sacred drum beat less and less. One night, under a moonless sky, the 7 Mahosi were summoned to Mapungubwe. Fires crackled low, and the elders arrived cloaked in silence. Chief Luvhimbi stood before them, his face painted with white clay, holding the sacred rain staff of the Vhambedzi. "We are not broken," he said. But we are many voices, no longer speaking as one. The land remembers us only when we remember it. That year, the sacred drum was placed on its side and covered with cowhide. It was not sounded again. Within decades, Mapungubwe began to quiet. Chiefs drifted apart. Villages folded inward. Sacred rites were whispered in caves, hidden from children who no longer learned the full names of their ancestors. The Vhangona kingdom did not fall in flames. It faded in silence. But the story was not lost. In every Venda homestead, Tshivenḓa words still carry the Chingona tongue. In every elder song, in the Chikona that stirs the dust at weddings and funerals, in the names of Zanani, Umbilwi, Shindolu, and others, the bones of the kingdom still breathe. Some say Chief Luvhimbi was the last true voice of the ancestors, that when he returned to the land, the clouds cried one last time, and that on nights of no moon, when the wind warms and the dogs grow still, you can hear a voice from Mapungubwe saying, Nandi Ruvimbi Orambezi, Ndichi Fimbi Ruyamupo, Ndichi Fimokosi Wazitalan. The land remembers me, and one day you will too. As time marched on, new clans arrived, not with conquest, but with hunger, dreams, and prophecy. Around the 13th century, Vhatwanamba, Vhangona, Vhangona, and Vhambedzi crossed rivers and forests into the old lands of the Vhangona. The Vhatwanamba settled in Tangwe, Tshiheni, and Hamabira. The Vhatwanamba settled in Mapungubwe and areas like Musina, Hachivura, Hamajie, Hamachete, Hamurambgane, and Alishiva. The Vhambedzi and Vhangona made homes in Hamuterek and Thulamela. These groups did not seek to dominate the Vhangona, but to find a place among them. They brought with them new customs and new gods, yet still honored the soil they found, soil already rich with stories. Later, a new name would echo in the land, King Shiriyadenga, a ruler tied to a rising order at Mapungubwe, linked by some traditions to the later centralized kingship model. His name signaled the transition into another era, one of crowns and singular rule, a style foreign to the Vhangona, but destined to shape the centuries that followed. But before the crowns, before Dzata, before the coming of new names, there were only the people of the fig tree, the people of the breath, the people of the sacred drum, the Vhangona and the Vhambedzi, and the land still remembers.